The Chicken Asylum, an Alex Reynolds mystery. Author, Fred Hunter. Publisher, St. Martin's, Griffin, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 7. "I'm sorry," he said fearfully. "I hear someone coming. I think they search for me." I scraped my teeth up from the floor and looked at Mother. "What's he doing here?" "Hiding." "I can see that," I said, gritting my teeth. "I mean, how did he get here?" "In a taxi. I had to pay for it. He just showed up at the door about an hour after you went out. And I might add, darling, that when I send you out with a guest, I do expect you to stay with them." "I wasn't the one that left." "You weren't the one getting shot at," said Peter. "I swear to God I'm going to kill you before this is over." I turned back to Mother. "He took a taxi? How in the hell did he know how to do that?" James answered. "I've been in taxis since I come here. I know you get in and say address." "You remembered our address?" He pulled a small white rectangle from the pocket of his pants. "You give me a card with the address on it." "He's resourceful, I'll say that for him," Mother said with a degree of admiration. "A little too resourceful, if you ask me. How could you let a terrorist in here?" "I didn't know he was a terrorist. Then," she caught herself and looked to James, who had climbed out onto the couch. "Oh, I'm so sorry, love. I didn't mean it that way." She turned back to me. "I didn't know of the connection then." "Well, you do now. Why didn't you turn him over to Nelson? How could you take a risk like this?" "I don't think I'm taking a risk. After what happened at the bar, and after what Nelson and Frederick said, they knew. I don't believe they really know anything. All Larry did was make it rather obvious he expected something to happen at the bar. But surely nothing so dramatic." I started to protest again, but she cut me off firmly. "Whatever you may think of Larry, I don't think he'd ever purposely put us in danger. We're the ones that do that." "Then why did he tell us to take James back to the bar?" "Probably he thought at worst James might make another phone call, that's all, and he wanted to give him the opportunity. I certainly don't think he believed someone would show up and try to kill him." "How can you say that after the way Nelson held out on us?" "Because if he had thought something big was going to happen, don't you think he would have had more agents there?" This stopped me. "I hadn't thought of that. You see, darling, they were expecting no more than a phone call. Larry sent that agent Fredericks in to watch, and Larry came along and waited outside, more as a just-in-case messenger than anything else." "Well, now you know what happened. Doesn't that tell you something?" "Doesn't tell me he's a terrorist." "I am not one," James whimpered. "Excuse us a moment," I said to him, then turned back to Mother. "You heard what Nelson said." "Darling, the words Arab and terrorist do not necessarily go together." "Mother, if the password was terrorist, the first clue would be Arab." She narrowed her eyes at me. Had I been rational at the time, I would have realized it was a bad sign. "You're going by what you've seen on television, and I won't have it. You know the danger of labeling a group of people." Her meaning wasn't lost on me. "Yes, but this goes beyond that. Nelson says there's a connection." "But they don't know what it is." I was getting increasingly frustrated. Mother does have her little fads, but rarely ones that involve terrorists. "What makes you so sure he's innocent?" She rolled her eyes. "Alex, he was hiding behind the couch." I looked over at James, who was sitting there staring at us with those big, dark Bambi eyes of his. He looked like he was going to cry. "Yeah, that does seem kind of. "Yes, it does," said Mother. "Then who did he call from the bar?" "I've asked him about that. I think I'll let him tell it." The three of us crossed the room to James. His eyes were still wide, and his face was drawn. His hands were in his lap, fingers flexing together so fiercely. I was surprised his knuckles didn't snap. He looked absolutely terrified. For the first time since he'd made that damned phone call, I felt sorry for him. One more about face and I was going to run into myself. Mother sat down next to him. Peter switched off the television, and then he and I leaned against the dryer. "Well," I asked, "what's going on?" He looked at me and blinked. "I do not know," I sighed with frustration, throwing my hands up in the air. Peter said, "Alex, give him a break." "I really do not know," James said. He was silent for a very long time and was having trouble looking any of us in the eye. Finally, he looked down at his hands and said, "I lie to you." "Aha!" I exclaimed. "Alex," Mother and Peter said in unison. Mother added, "Go on, James." He cleared his throat. "I do not know where are chemical weapons. I lie." "What have you been telling them for the past 3 days?" I asked. "I give them locations. I know some. Little. Places they may be. Places they may." He struggled for a moment, then found the tense he was looking for. "Places they may have been. I only think maybe. The same as everyone. I know your people want to know this, so I tell them I know. Please understand, I have to leave my country. I do not know an other way, so I tell them I know this." If I hadn't been so astonished, I would have laughed. Both sides were lying to the other and going through what Mother had aptly termed an elaborate charade to keep the farce going. The only difference between them was that Nelson and his crew had successfully deceived James, while he had never really fooled them. I took a deep breath. "Well, if it makes you feel any better, they never did think you knew where the weapons were." "What is this?" he said, his eyes growing even wider. Peter explained. "They brought you here to use you. They were using you to flush out the Red Jihad." "What?" he cried, bolting from the couch to a full standing position. It was so unexpected that all three of us flinched. The fear on his face before was nothing to the sheer panic it showed now. He breathed heavily, almost panting, and spoke fast and low. "The Jihad? Ahmad? Why they think I can tell them about this?" "It's a little late for that, don't you think?" said Mother. James looked at her questioningly, but her meaning was clear, even a second language. "I know people in the Jihad," he said, "but I do not become one. You please believe me?" "I do believe James," she said firmly. "If they think I betray them, they will kill me." "They've already tried," I said with a heavy sigh. I didn't know whether or not I could believe his ignorance of this. "James," said Peter, "who was it you really called from the bar?" "I called my cousin, like I say." "What'd you tell him?" "Just what I tell you, that I am in the United States and that I am good." "Wait a minute. How did you ever know his number?" "My brother gave it to me." "So you told your brother that you were defecting?" "Yes," he said guiltily. "I know I will not see them again, my family. So I tell them, only those close. My brother give me the number and say to tell my cousin all is well." There was a pause, and his expression filled with emotion. "The sound of him, hearing him." His lower lip began to tremble, and I could well understand why. He'd left everything he'd known and found himself in a very strange new world. "I imagine hearing a familiar voice was rather like a tonic," said Mother. "So you told him you wanted to see him?" I asked. "No, no. He asks where I am, but I do not tell him I stay with you. I tell him if he wants to contact me. I try to be at that bar tonight." "Why would he want to contact you?" "I do not know why or how. I do not know where he is." "What is the phone number?" He pulled a slip of paper from his pocket and handed it to me. It was badly stained and wrinkled, but the numbers were still legible. The area code is for New York. It is possible to come here so quickly from there? He asked. Yes, but why would he need to? I do not know, he answered helplessly. You could have just told him to come here to the house, that would have been much easier. No, because no one must know, Mr. Nelson. No one. But why was it so terribly important to keep your call to your cousin a secret? Mother asked pointedly. He looked at her, then down at the floor. His hands started to shake. I do not know where I am. I do not know who I am. I do not know who I can trust. With this, he began to weep, and in between loud sniffs, he shot embarrassed glances at Mother, as if checking to see if she was ashamed of him. The sight of this was almost too much to bear. Either he was a great actor, or he really was in a whole lot of trouble and knew it. We would have seen you together at the bar, I said. I do not know that anyone will come to the bar, but if so, you do not speak my language. I think we can talk, and you not know. That was a possibility. Once I gave it some thought, we wouldn't have had any idea what they were saying to each other. And even if they had shown signs of affection, it wouldn't have seemed out of place at Charlene's. In fact, it might have seemed perfectly natural for him to be instantly affectionate with a fellow countryman, just out of the joy of discovering another one here. James might have been a bit more clever than I thought. There is another reason, he added tentatively, looking down at the floor. Another reason you didn't want him to come here? I asked. He raised his eyes to mine. I do not want him to know you or where you are. From the look on Mother and Peter's faces, I could see they understood this as quickly as I did. I said, So you know that your cousin is a member of the jihad? I knew he was in Iraq. I did not know now. I think maybe being here would change him. James, why would your cousin try to kill you? Peter asked. James' eyes widened. He is not my cousin. What? I exclaimed. Peter said, You mean you didn't know the man with the gun? No. I never see him before. None of us knew what to say to this. Mother looked up at us from her place beside James and raised her eyebrows. The idea that his cousin had come to the bar to kill him had been hard enough to fathom. The idea that James had called his cousin and someone else had been sent to kill him was even more difficult. What did he say to you? I asked. He tells me I'm a traitor. How could you be a traitor to the Red Jihad if you're not one of them? I asked sharply. He buried his face in his hands. I do not know. I do not know. Peter said, Remember, honey, that is why he was brought here. In the heat of the moment, I actually had forgotten that the government's purpose in bringing him here was to expose his relations, even if he wasn't an actual member. That's true, but I don't see how they would know he'd done it so soon. James whimpered. He say I'm a traitor, and he shows me the gun. He tells me I must come with him. I'm afraid. I do not want to go, but I think if I do anything, he will shoot you too. Said Mother. Did the two of you get on at all? He turned his tear-stained face to her quizzically. I translated this into American. Didn't your cousin like you? I do not know him so well. I do not understand. That makes three of us, I said. Mother patted her leg with her palms and rose. I think that's enough for tonight. You've had a very long day. It's time you should go up to bed. But what can we do? He asked plaintively. Alex and Peter and I will try to figure that out. In the meantime, I don't want you to worry about it. We'll think of something. We will, I thought. Our newly expanded family went up the wooden steps, and I turned off the lights and shut the door. We said goodnight to James at the foot of the stairs to the second floor. As James went up, Mother said, You might want to keep from turning on the lights in your room. Larry Nelson has people watching the house. They might think it unusual. Yes, James said desolately. The three of us went back to the kitchen. Peter and I sat at the table while Mother put the kettle on. I don't think tea is going to help this, I said. Oh, bother. Tea helps everything. I could just kill Nelson. Why? Peter asked. Because he knew damn well how dangerous this was. I don't see how he could have. He knew about the cousin. He knew about the jihad. He knew about a whole lot he didn't see fit to tell us. Unless he was just telling us the truth. Peter was apparently determined to throw me completely off balance by defending Nelson, something that he had never done before. I humped lightly. Under these circumstances, it was easy to believe the worst of Nelson. The truth about what? About the fact that they didn't think he'd try anything so soon. You believe that? He shrugged. Oddly enough, I think I do. Why would he? It would have made much more sense if James had waited. Maybe, I said, puckering my lips after a pause. But think of this. They would have had an agent breathing down his neck for the next few months. So, James must have known that. He might have even thought they'd always keep an eye on him. So maybe our government buddies thought we'd give him an opportunity to make contact fast. Peter reddened. We did. That's not what worries me at the moment, said Mother, setting mugs out on the table, and they loud thunk. Apparently trying to divert us to a less infuriating train of thought. What worries me is that fellow that showed up to kill James. When a call to his cousin results in an attempt on his life, something is dreadfully amiss. Spoken with true English understatement, I said. She ignored me. I mean, what could have caused that? The most obvious thing is that they must know why James was brought over here, said Peter. You mean the real reason? To finger the mob. The jihad, Peter corrected. Whatever! I was coming painfully close to sounding like Archie Bunker. How could they know? Like you said, even James didn't know. It doesn't matter, said Mother. Whether they think he's giving away their secrets or they think he's giving them away. It's obvious they're after him now. Oh, so that's why you wanted to make sure the house was being watched. So we'll be safe. Of course not, darling. I've given up all hope of being safe as long as you're my son. I wasn't the one. She didn't give me a chance to finish this. I wanted to know how hard it was going to be for us to get him out of here. What? You're joking. No, he can't stop here. Why not? It's far too dangerous. Wouldn't this be the safest place for him? Peter asked. I don't mean dangerous because of those jihad people. I wouldn't think they know where it is. I'm talking about Larry. He's no fool. He knows that James can't go to his cousin, and we're the only other people he knows in America. Come on, Mother. It would be crazy to think he's here. He is here, isn't he? I'm afraid she has you there, said Peter. So the question is, how are we going to get him out of here? And where are we going to put him? Yeah, I said. With the government after him and the jihad after him, he's going to have to disappear permanently. But first things first, said Mother. How do we get him out of the house? It's not going to be easy, said Peter. He stands out in our crowd. I sighed heavily. It's like Thunderdome. Peter gave to me. What? You remember Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? 2 go in, 1 comes out. Our guards don't know anyone else is in the house with us. We can't very well have 3 of us come in and 4 go out. Even if we would disguise them somehow, it would look awfully suspicious. If they saw someone who never came into the house, leave it. We fell silent for a minute, our minds running through a problem that on the surface seemed insurmountable. Then I felt my eyes widen at something completely fantastic, in the true sense of the word, came to me. Oh my God! I've just had an idea. Peter folded his hands on the table and leveled his gaze at me. You know how it scares me when either you or your mother say that. Well, I like that, Mother said with comic archness. Then she added to me, What is it? Peter, do you remember Joe Gardner? Joe Gardner? He scrunched up his face as he searched his memory. Oh, yeah. You mean that guy we worked with on the Clark campaign? What about him? He's interested enough in politics to want to help, and The last I heard, he was still with Mickey Downs. So, I sighed and shook my head. It's a really crazy idea, but it might work. You think it's crazy? Now I'm terrified, said Peter. I'll probably end up naked and strapped to an anthill. Don't worry, honey, I said, playfully pinching his cheek. You're not the one who's going to hate this one. On my way up to bed that night, I stopped in to check on James. He was lying on top of the bed in the dark, fully clothed, staring up out of the window at where the stars would be if they could be seen through Chicago's dome of pollution. I suffered another pang by choosing to defect. He had even lost the stars. I do wrong, he said with a catch in his throat. I do wrong to call my cousin. I went to the bed and sat on the edge. You were lonely. I caused much trouble. You and your mother and your Peter. You were all very good to me. I did not mean to cause you this trouble. Don't keep kicking yourself, I said kindly. He looked at me quizzically. What is this? Oh, God, I thought, what a time for the language barrier to rear its ugly head. Do you know the word blame? I asked. Yes, he replied, turning away. I know this. Well, I meant don't blame yourself. You're human. I don't think we took into account just how lonely you'd be. Maybe we could have done something more to help. I don't know. Probably not, because you've given up so much, but even in that, you're not alone. He turned his watery eyes back to me. No. I wanted to assure him that he had us. But he would know that wasn't true. In order to ensure his safety, we were going to have to send him away, and in all likelihood, he'd never be able to contact us again. But I wanted very badly to offer him some comfort. No, you're not alone in feeling you've lost everything. Even here in the U.S., some guys, when they come out of the closet, they... Oh, what is this? What is what? This closet? I took a deep breath. I'm sorry. That is when you hide the fact that you're homosexual. Coming out of the closet means admitting that you're gay. Deciding to be honest about it. Living honestly, like what you're doing. Although, most people don't do it quite so dramatically. When some guys here decide to admit openly that they're gay, they lose everything. They get disowned by their families, turned out, never see them again. Just like you, so even in the way you're feeling now, you're not alone. What do they do to these people? He asked, blinking back tears. They make their own homes, build their own families. This is what you do? No, thank God, I was lucky. I was blessed with the best mother in gay civilization. And Peter? Yes, and Peter, but it was a long, long time before I met Peter. He laid back on the bed and looked up at the ceiling. I think when I come here, I will just be free. I smiled. Well, as my mother would say, we're none of us as free as we want to be. But things are better here, really. No matter how things look now, things will get better for you. He searched my face as if desperate to believe this was true, and I tried my darndest to look like I was sure that it was. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.